This time, find out how my guest went from being homeless, spending his nights on a racecourse, to showing off his creative skills on primetime TV.
It wasn't easy here at first, actually. I bought a house from I'm going to call him a pseudo mafioso. This guy had threatened me. He was on his way to shoot me and break my legs. I'd given him all my money to buy this house off him. I was terrified.
Hello, and welcome back to a brand new series of These Three Things, the podcast that asks which person, place, and treasured possession have made a profound impact upon your life and why. My guest today is the carpenter, craftsman, author, and all-round creative force, Scott Thompson. Originally from Lancashire, Scott has called the island of Sicily home for the past 17 years and has carved out a unique niche as a project manager, specialising in renovating historic properties across the island. You may know him best from his appearance on Alan Carr and Amanda Holden's Italian Adventure. Their most recent project, based around a property in the Spanish hills of Andalusia with Scott at the helm, is now available to watch on BBC iPlayer. Scott Thompson, a very warm welcome. I have to start by asking you, how easy was it for you to choose your list today?
Hi, Deb. Thank you for having me. It was really hard, actually, really hard. The person and the place were easy. The possession tormented me all week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really didn't know what to do.
Okay, let's start with that person. I'm dying to know, who have you chosen and why?
So my person is Terry. Terry is a weightlifting coach. He's an ex-priest, ex-teacher, a history teacher, and a really clever guy. He lives in Worcester. And when I was 15 years old, I found myself homeless in Worcester. I was living on Worcester Racecourse and waiting to go to college. It was the summer of 95. I think there's a song in there somewhere. And I'd already been going to the gym for a few years before I'd moved to Worcester. So I figured it was I'd just moved to Worcester maybe 4 or 5 weeks earlier. So I knew no one there. I had no family or friends or history there. I knew nothing. And the guys at the gym who ran the gym kind of picked up on my situation. I don't think they really understood the extent of it, but they introduced me to Terry. And we called him Coach. He looked after a bunch of kind of troubled young men who had problems. He fostered quite a few of the guys that were my peers with him, and he used weightlifting as a tool to help us kind of work through our life, our issues. He was previously a history teacher and a psychologist in a Catholic school in Birmingham. Now, I'm not religious at all, but that didn't make any difference. He wasn't any longer a priest. And he took me in, basically, helped me find a place to live, an apartment, and became my only parent, my only contact. At the time, I wasn't in contact with any of my family, or really any of, it was pre-mobile phones, pre-social media. So you move 200 miles away, that's it, everyone's gone. So he became my only kind of person and contact, really. And, thank God, although I'm not religious, thank God he is an incredible person. He's still the person who texts me every single day, 30 years later. So he had an incredible impact on my life and my self-confidence, and gave me the strength to kind of finish what I was doing in Worcester, which was to be there to go to college, but then to go out and find my thing and my place and my people, and believed in me all the way. So yeah, my path, a 15-year-old living on the streets, I could have gone down the wrong path. I could have ended up who knows where, doing what with who knows who. But actually, he gave me the strength to, I opened my first business when I was 16, still at college. He gave me the strength to follow my path, follow my dreams.
How incredible.
Yeah, an incredible guy.
So you say his name is Terry. Can I take his full name?
Yeah, it's Terry Langman. Terry
Langman. And where's Terry in the world today? Is he still in Worcestershire?
No, he's not actually now. He's up north in Humberside, Beverley.
Okay.
And he's fantastic. He still trains. He's now in his 80s. He's got a little gym in his garden. He still trains every day. When I say he texts me every day, he doesn't text me saying, "Hi Scott, how are you?" Because he knows those kind of things. I feel pressure from that. And I don't, he'll text me like, heading to the gym to do a chest session. I'm a beast. Beat this day down, Scott. Or you're a monster. You can have it. Just out of the blue, just really motivational things every single day. And it's just what I need from a person.
So at 15, I mean, it's quite an incredible story as you've highlighted so far. You end up in Worcester, you're homeless, and did you just stumble upon this gym? Is it something that you just walked into and there he was? Or was Terry sort of known in that area as sort of the mentor to young boys, who had lost their way?
Yeah, he was kind of a coach, and he was known to do that, to help young guys who'd lost their way.
Are you still in touch with those young men as well? Have you all is there a bit of a brotherhood that's remained?
Yeah, I call them my foster brothers, actually. He never fostered me. But I think of them, we are brothers. We would sit in his lounge, which had an amazing mural on the wall with he'd kind of built it out with paper mache, and it had lights and stuff on it. And it was a historical street in Worcester. And we'd sit there and have conversations that in the 90s young men would not have. We would sit there and talk about our feelings and about one of my brothers, my foster brothers, was abused quite badly by his stepfather, ended up almost going to prison. He'd had a really, really, really bad life. And to sit there and kind of have honest exchanges with him at that time. Sorry, excuse the bells going on.
No, please, I'm going to explain this actually to our listeners. So Scott, recording from Sicily this morning, has warned us that every 15 minutes the Sicilian bells will ring, which I think is absolutely glorious. However, they do go on for a bit, so we shall be expecting them. Oh, there we are. Oh, here we go.
This is the one. That's it. He facilitated this kind of really honest, open speech and conversation between us, and sharing of experiences that I don't think we could have done with anyone else, because you can't, when you have a very particular kind of life like that, you can't just talk to anyone. You can't talk to your mate Michael at school who you share. It's just not like that. You have to be with people that you feel safe with, and that will understand, or not understand, but at least empathize with what you're going through. And he really kind of equipped us with that ability to be open about how we're feeling and share things, even if they were just angry rants at the world, or but we could get it out there, and we had this safe space. And that, for a 15-year-old who was so angry with the world, I was so angry with my parents. I have a great relationship with my parents now, fantastic relationship with my parents.
Lovely.
We re-met in my 20s, and fixed everything, which I probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't had that in the background. I without a doubt owe him probably my life, but certainly my mental health. Because at that time in my life, I was definitely at a very fragile stage, and it could have gone so wrong. And instead, I'm quite happy with how it turned out, actually. So,
I mean, it sounds, I mean, I'm sure Terry would say, and again, it doesn't matter if you take the religious stance or not, but that it sounds like divine intervention. You know, like you said, you could have gone left and you went right, and things have worked out spectacularly well for you. And when you look back on that, on all the things that Terry taught you, not just about yourself, but about the path and becoming a young man and a young adult, what do you sort of now recognize in yourself as something that you know, is the cornerstone of your character because of Terry? What did he give you mostly?
he gave me the power to say no, to not accept what wasn't right for me, but not in a way, you know, that I have to be right and someone else has to be wrong, but just, this isn't the situation I want to be in, so I can take myself out of it. You know, I don't feel compelled to push myself through things that I don't feel comfortable with, and to reflect and really think about everything. You know, I mean, that he wouldn't, if I'd go to him with a decision, with something I had to, I've been offered this job, it's maybe, you know, it's paying more than the job I'm at now, but I'm not sure. And it, you know, very, you know, at 15, 16 years old, he's making me work through this in my head. He's saying, okay, so, you know, what do you think are the pros? What are the cons? What are the, you know, why do you want to maybe go? Why did you apply for it in the first place? You know, he'd made me really think about things. And then at the end, you know, he'd always say, and what does your gut say? Because that's your decision. You know, if you've thought about everything and you've done the right kind of mental process of assessing the pros and the cons and looking at it all, and your gut is still saying one thing, that's the answer. That's where you go. So he gave me this kind of faith in myself and my
Intuition.
own decision. Yeah,
and in your instincts. And also, it sounds like he really was teaching you young about having boundaries, which are really important for all of us, but, you know, for teenagers, when you can feel really boundaryless, it's really good to have that sense of, like you said, knowing how to say no and knowing that that's okay and putting yourself first and staying safe in that environment. And do you mentor people these days, having had a mentor such as Terry?
God, I feel like I should now. I don't think I do, actually. I've become, I mean, I live in a tiny mountain village away from anyone. I try and get involved in the communities here in Sicily as much as I can. And I certainly try and help some of the younger guys that are setting out on their own in specifically in building, but in business here, to kind of think about things a bit different. But I don't really, and it's maybe something I should be doing, because I tend to push myself, to be honest, towards artists a lot. I enjoy artists, so I do a lot of, we set up here an artist residency a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
And recently, last year, we set up a ceramics school in Sicily. So I love creatives. I love working with and being around artists. That's kind of my passion.
Yeah. And I'm sure by osmosis it's happening somewhere. It sounds idyllic. I really hope that Terry gets to hear this episode. I think it's one of the things I love most about doing this podcast is the idea that the person, if they're still alive, doesn't know that they've been chosen, and then somehow they get a copy of the episode and they listen to it and they realize that those moments, however long they lasted in life, made such a profound impact on the guest and the speaker. And, you know, there's sort of a pay it forward process with this, that it's sort of, it ripples out into the world. And I really do hope he gets to listen to just what a difference he made to that 15-year-old boy. Because as you said, you wouldn't be where you are now had it not been for those intervening moments.
No, 100%.
And 80 and in the gym, what an inspiration.
Yeah.
I love it.
Incredible.
Okay, maybe I could segue now onto your place. I'd love to know where Scott Thompson is chosen, with a special place somewhere in the world that you feel your absolute best.
So my place, is here. It's Cianciano.
Okay.
So, and it kind of goes back to Terry's teachings, really. I moved to Cianciano when I was 28, maybe 27, 28 years old, so 17 years ago. I'm 45 now. It wasn't easy here at first, actually. I bought a house from I'm going to call him a pseudo mafioso. He was pretending to be the mafia in order to kind of scare people off. And having been here maybe 10 days, this guy had threatened me. He was on his way to shoot me and break my legs. And I'd given him all my money to buy this house off him. And I still hadn't had the deeds back from the lawyer. I was terrified. I kind of ran out of the house I was renting off him. I ran up to sit in front of the bank because there was a guard on the bank, and I was bawling my eyes out. I thought, I've lost everything. I've got some mafia guy on his way to shoot me. He's going to, this is me done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a little girl, a young lady, 15 years old, came past, and no one spoke English in the town at that point. There's no other English people really here. And in a perfect English voice, said to me, "Are you okay?"
Yes.
And long story short, she took me to meet her mum, who was kind of half English. And then she took me to meet her family, who had a big construction company here, funnily enough. And they sorted everything out for me. How the town then came around me to look after me and protect me. I mean, I'm not kidding. For maybe 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, I couldn't pay for anything. I'd go to a supermarket and get some shopping. I'd get to the till and they'd say, no, we don't want your money. We don't want you to think all Sicilians are like him. And, everywhere I went, people had been coming up to me. Everyone knew. I didn't know these people, that I'd just been in the town for a couple of weeks. But word had got out. I mean, there's only 3,000 people here. Word got out, and the whole town just I felt a hug from a whole town. And honestly, I cried with emotion, because it was just kindness and love from people who couldn't even speak to me. I couldn't speak Italian. I didn't speak a word at the time. And I found my people. I found people who, I wasn't the weirdo anymore. I was always a weirdo. Before I moved here at 27, I'd moved 35 times in my life, moved house 35 times. I lived in 15 cities and towns across the UK. I've never had a home in the UK that was, Christmas time, everyone goes, "What are you doing for Christmas?" "I'm going home." Home is where they were brought up, where their friends are, where their parents are. I was brought up in Leyland. I don't have any family in Leyland. And I was only there till I was 10. And then I moved every 6 months pretty much afterwards. So nowhere really felt like home. I've been in this town nearly 20 years. I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere in the UK. And I feel more, and even from before I could speak the language, I felt more at home here than I ever did anywhere else that I lived.
Can I just ask you, Cianciano is where in Italy? Which part? Sorry, Sicily. Whereabouts?
Southwest Sicily, near Agrigento and Sciacca. It's kind of between Agrigento and Sciacca, in the mountains. A tiny little mining village, or used to be a mining village, and it's about, at the time there was about 2,000 people here. Now we're about 3,000.
And can I ask you, have they watched you on Alan and Amanda's Italian Adventure and said, "Oh, that's our Scott from our village"?
We don't have it in Italy. No one's seen it.
No one's seen it.
I only see it because they send me a copy of it. I'm like, people are like, "What's it like? What's it like now? Do people recognise you?" I'm like, no one knows. No one. I'm like, nothing has changed.
But I absolutely love what you just said then about the town coming round you and really wanting to impress on you that the spirit of the island and the people of the island are nothing like that. and that you're in safe hands and that you're a part of that, family. And that's incredible.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing to happen.
Yeah.
And I take it Mr. Mafioso soon disappeared
He
or calmed down.
Funnily enough, he wasn't seen around town for a while.
Yeah.
And he was trying to set up a business selling houses, and that just never took off. And then I believe he moved back to the UK. I don't think he's around anymore.
Okay. But you've had no trouble since, I take it. And this house that you're recording from, is this the house that you have had for 20 years?
No. I bought this house. I did the first house, renovated it, sold it, and kind of grew, because it was, the first house I bought here was for €5,000, which at the time was about £3,000. But it was quite small, so I renovated that and then sold it, and then did that a couple more times till I got this place, which is
Beautiful.
This is my forever home. This place,
Lovely,
yeah,
lovely. In Cinchana, still there.
Yeah. And
gorgeous.
I designed it exactly for me and my ADHD. Every room has a different thing. So I've got an art room, a jewellery making room, a sculpture room, a music room,
Amazing.
which we're in now.
And I take it you speak Italian, right?
Yeah, I do now.
Yes.
I pretty much only speak Italian now. I very rarely speak English.
I love it. So Cinchana in southwest Sicily, up in the mountains. And are you taking sort of like a tiny little dirt track to get to your home, or is it quite remote?
It's fairly remote. I mean, it's about 15, 20 minutes off the main road between kind of Palermo. There's a main ring road that almost goes all the way around Sicily. Goes from Palermo to kind of Trapani and Agrigento. It goes to all the big cities. So here we go with the bells again.
Here are the bells. They're back. So tell me, these are every 15 minutes throughout day and night.
Yeah.
So you sleep through these as well.
Yeah. In fact, the midnight ones play you a nice little tune as well, just to let you know it's a new day.
Just in case you hadn't heard them a billion times before. I love it, but it's new to me. I'm wondering as a resident whether you'd get to the... Okay. Mind you, I suppose for your timekeeping, it's great, hey?
Do you know, I never liked wearing watches because I used to call them handcuffs to time. And the great thing here is you always just know what time it is because it always tells you. You don't need a watch. It's just
every
there.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to go on now, if I may, Scott, to your treasured possession. So the item, if you were stripped of everything and you were allowed to take one thing with you, what would it be? You've alluded to the guitar, so that might be on the list. But tell me, what have you chosen for your treasured possession?
This was hard, Deb. This was really, really hard. And it was a toss-up between my guitars. Or maybe only one of them, and my notebooks. And then I only realised as I was trying to make this decision, writing in the notebook, that it's the notebook that I really need, because everything I do, I have to do with, I have to do with a fountain pen. I can't write with any other pen. It's a fountain pen. And in nice fancy cursive in a notebook, and it has to look nice, a nice notebook. I have, hundreds of them with different things, nice little fancy ones.
Leather bound, yes.
Leather bound. It's always been how I kind of process the world, just by writing my thoughts and my ideas, and knowing that I'm not going to lose them, because I'm aware that my mind moves quite quickly. I think about one thing really intensely, and then I think about something else, and quite often I'll forget it. And I know if it's in the notebook, I've got it forever. And I can read back through them and remember how I felt. It's become my companion throughout my life, having a notebook and being able to talk to it almost.
So more than a journal, I suppose, it's also where you would sketch or design or, draw what you're going to make or renovate in some way. So I imagine they're sort of like archives of not just your written thought, but also your designs.
Yeah, everything. Some of them have titles. This one is Philosophy and Musings.
Oh, lovely.
and
Will you dip into one? Can we hear a little piece, perhaps?
God, right.
Any page. I don't care where.
Any page. Wisdom is the experience of a situation. It's the accumulated by the living of a variety of events, i.e. reading a book on war may make you knowledgeable about war, but only the experience of war itself can make you wise about it.
I get a sense of Terry. You know, it's like how this person really, like I said, divinely intervened at the right time for that young boy, and how, as the adult that you are today, living the life that you are, both in a public sense and a private sense, you've got this very private journal that you've generously shared with us. Thank you, and a place that it can all pour forth. And I think if you're someone who's very sort of headbound, you need to let all of that through your heart in some expression, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
And a journal is the easiest, quickest way of just keeping it alive.
And I feel like it comes out in my head, all my thoughts are quite often conversations. It's not. I will question a thought and I'll go back over it. It's not necessarily in order. Whereas when I write it down, it comes out in a single voice, in a coherent thought, and that is where it's got its value then, because it's something that you can kind of understand and share. It's very difficult to share what's in my mind, and maybe that's a particularity of me. Right? I spend a lot of time on my own talking to myself. So
you're not alone there. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
having a good chat. So you've got thousands of these books, I imagine, stacked up. Would you want them to go with you? I mean, where will they archive one day?
I don't know. I mean, there's probably £1 million idea in here somewhere. I don't know. And I should read over them, but I literally have. On my desk I've got 6. So I just fill them, and I always have. I've got a room with just a shelf full of these books.
And do you write your music as well, or is that just?
I write quite a few songs. I wish I could play them and sing them as well, but in my head they sound great in my head, and I can write down the words. I just can't play them and sing them very well.
Love it. So I've got to ask you, when it comes to the series as well, you've got obviously another series with Alan and Amanda.
Yeah.
And has it been a really wonderful sort of creative process where these journals have come with you to sit and meet with them and look at these renovations and start getting excited about how you're going to design with the program?
Yeah, it's been it's been a great experience. This is my 3rd year. Like you say, we're in Spain, and they have been fabulous to work with. It's, for me, I spend most of my life kind of on my own in my house, doing my things, in my office. I still don't. I have a lot of friends here and everyone in the town, but I still don't have family. So, and in Sicilian lifestyle is very family oriented. So I spend a lot of time on my own. When we go and film this show, it's, you're living in a house with 6, 10 creative people that are all working towards one thing. It's a team. It's and that for me is, it's massive. I find it a little bit overwhelming at first, every year, to be honest, because it's all of a sudden, it's not just me and my ideas and then telling and translating that. It's, okay, I'm just a part of this thing that's going on. And everyone's so fabulous and so lovely on the show. It's been a real honour to work on, and it's been a great experience.
Well, I know the audiences love watching you, Scott. I mean, it really did receive such... It was
Oh, really?
I mean, I devoured both series in the UK, and I know I'm one of many members of my family who loved it because you just looked
It
like you
was
were
funny.
having such a laugh. Yeah, it did look like a load of fun. And the end product was so beautiful, and you were so instrumental in overseeing all of that management and creativity.
Yeah.
Amanda and Alan as well with their input. But yeah, I hear what you're saying about, when you've carved out a life as you have, which is remote and private and quiet, and it's a sanctuary.
Yep.
It becomes your haven. And then you're sort of thrust into
Yeah.
a machine, I suppose, that works, and it has a timeline and a budget and pressures, and you adapt. It's a step outside of your comfort zone, but I mean, good on you for doing it and saying yes, because we, the viewers, have absolutely loved it. And like I said, from an aesthetic point of view, they are stunning and big, big jobs to oversee, right?
Yeah, I mean, I one of the Alex, who's the kind of the director on the show. He runs. I'm still not kind of sure what everyone does on the show, because there's a lot of producers in television, different types of producers. I'm not quite sure, but he's the director, and he's become a great friend. He's an incredible person. And sometimes I'm like, why are we doing this? Why no one would put this in a house? Like, this is, and he's like, look, just remember, this is theatre. You're building theatre. It's got to be wow. It can't be simple. And this year is wow. It's
Okay.
We've taken it definitely to another level.
To a new heights. Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Lovely. Looking forward to it. Oh, Scott, this has been absolutely joyous. I'm so grateful you said yes. So to Terry and to Chinchana and to your precious notebooks, your journals, I hope you've enjoyed being a guest on these three things.
I've loved it. Thank you. So, and the week running up to this has been also just such a week of introspection and considering my life, which I haven't done for so long. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It's meant a lot.
Oh, an absolute pleasure. I wish you all the best for the year ahead. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today for another episode of These Three Things. If you have particularly enjoyed this conversation, please do share it with a friend. Press subscribe or follow on your preferred platform. And if you have an extra minute, a comment or review is greatly appreciated. We release episodes every fortnight. So until next time, thank you and take care.